Your powers are weak, old man.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Hey, my more brothers, back again, and I had done this rant before, but I guess the Christmas gods saw to it that the recording got truncated, so I didn't put it up. And I don't know whether to put this one on Patreon and make it public, because I don't like talking behind people's backs, or lift my embargo for a second and just put this one up as a rant. I think I'll put it on Patreon first and then decide if I'm actually going to upload it someplace else. I don't want to put it on my public channel out of, I guess, my own stubbornness, I suppose, more than anything else. Anyway, Gab had sent me a email. I don't know why I got the email. Sent me an email about another goddamn relationship hangout stream. Okay. And so I was on there. For a good couple hours. And the the biggest thing is that they were going in on brothers that were SySBM, Save Yourself Black Men, or IBMOR. And they didn't agree with it because they didn't like the rhetoric about black women and dating. And they didn't like SySBM because it was giving brothers an out, a different alternative away from black women, which a lot of, I would say pro-blacks, they call themselves pro-blacks, but a lot of community activists think that is detrimental toward the black community. And in a sense, they could be right, it is detrimental. But they continue to only address the men. A lot of things that I was saying about this, I guess King Samuel was on there, and a couple others, as we were going back and forth, they didn't deny that the stuff that was going on, but the thing is that they were saying is that they were talking about we owed our ancestors the spirit of resilience, that we're still here to put up with the attitudes and stuff that black women were putting down because we owe that to the culture, to that the fact that we survived, that black men survived. And they had a moral obligation to not abandon the culture because that's the culture that kept them alive, so to speak. And as a parent, I find that is bullshit. If you can't find what's good for yourself, that's more productive for you as a person, as a human being, as a human soul, then no, you shouldn't stick to the group or the culture. If this group is dysfunctional, it's paramount as a functional human being that you get out of the dysfunctionality. You get out of the insane asylum. You get out of the craziness. And as we're talking, you hear more shaming language, but you don't hear solutions. Because we ask us, okay, give us a better deal. What's the better deal? What's the better option that you're giving us? And basically, there is no better option. They don't have any. They don't have any ideas. They don't have ways to make things better. They don't have a way to make the relationship between black men and black women better. They don't have any. They don't have any ideas. And that is the problem. You don't have any ideas. You don't have any counter offers for black men to listen to. And then you expect them to be stupid. You expect that old conditioning to fire up and keep black men in line. The social conditioning is not doing it anymore because it's gone. We discarded it in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and the society as a whole discarded it back in the 90s and the 2000s. It's gone. The fence is down. There is no electric fence anymore. And then the next day, a couple things that I had mentioned to Gab, that possibly the only way to fix it is for black men to leave en masse. And then he said, how do I know that? I said, because I've heard that out of black women's mouths themselves. I heard it out of their own mouths. I heard a number of women admit it, and one in particular was Concrete Rose and Danielle, who I had months ago. I think it's months. Yeah, a few months ago on my women's hangout. And we had this long, almost like 3-week discussion. In the end, they came to that conclusion that the only way to get black women in line, the only way to change black women's attitude, because they do think that we are beneath them, is to leave, because maybe then and there they'll think that we are serious, and a lot of this dysfunction can start to be addressed to them, because black women will be forced to look at themselves as dysfunctional. And basically, I don't know if she heard me. I don't think she heard me. I think she had said it before, which is probably the reason that Gab had his emergency discussion, his emergency panel, is because Danielle did say it on Obsidian Show, and I did find it, and I did play it. I played it for my Patreons. Okay, that she did. She was at the end of the show, and she went on for about a good 25 minutes, and she laid it out. I mean, she absolutely laid it out, and I had to applaud the sister because those long discussions that we had actually paid off. She actually went out and investigated. She wasn't convinced, and she probably thought I was wrong. Well, she went out and looked. She went out and looked. She went out and questioned. She went out and observed. She went out and talked to black women, and then she came back and found out that what we're talking about is true. And even on Obsidian's hangout, his stream, she had them guys' heads spinning because they couldn't believe that this woman was spitting the truth. And they even to the point to the truth where they couldn't accept it. It was so black pill, they couldn't accept it. She spit some black pill truth to them brothers, and they could not accept it, which is that black women will not think that you're serious until black men leave in mass or start moving on in mass and making different decisions. She said until you start standing up for your goddamn selves and take back your self-respect and put your self-respect over pussy. That's exactly what she was saying, which is exactly what I was telling Gab. It's not going to get fixed by black men going back into the matrix with black women and keep doing and perpetuating the same old stodgy, dysfunctional bullshit that we've been doing for 200 years. It's not going to work. And then Kendra came in and co-signed the exact same thing. These are two women that co-signed the exact same thing, that doing dysfunctional shit just for the sake of doing dysfunctional shit and holding the status quo is not the way to go, because we have taught these children, hopefully, to see a different avenue, to see a different light. We have given them a new world, and we get mad when they try to take it. They say, BGS, but you have daughters. Aren't you afraid that your daughters won't find mates? My daughters have every much of an opportunity as those black boys do. There's nothing holding black women to the status quo. They have to get out and compete and strive and achieve just like everybody else. Yeah, they have to come out of their comfort zone like everybody else. We raise children and we groom children to be able to be functional adults. Functional adults have to figure it out on their own. They're not stupid bots that only conform to what we taught them. No, they have their own mind, their own will, and they can find their own direction. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what we did. That's what the previous generation did. Everybody thinks that there was some kind of format that everybody followed. And in some senses, there was. In the limited opportunities that black people had for the last 200 years, yes. Okay, there was a format that you had to follow to survive, because that was the only way that you could live. Okay, we have given our children a new world where the fences are down and their opportunities are boundless, and we get upset when they try to fucking take it. Now, do I agree with everything that millennials say and zennials say that they should and should not do? No, I don't agree with everything they say. Some things I think are wrong. And when I see things that I think that are wrong, that's just my opinion. It's not a fact. that I think is wrong, I let them know that there might be a better way to do things. And I actually point it out. I actually give them resources. This is my informed opinion about the way that you're doing things and the things that I think that you're doing are wrong. But at the end of the day, Coach Chiefs, you got to decide what hill you're going to die on, not me. Because at the end of the day, it's your ass, not mine. We send our kids into these white dominated schools. We have them grow up in integrated classrooms with integrated teachers. We got white female teachers standing in front of them teaching them. We let them watch white programs, just put them on a white internet, and we let them interact in a white world, which that white world that we call it a white world is their country. That's where they're born and raised in. And we were all sired in this country on purpose. It was not an accident that 90% of black people were actually sired after 1780. They were sired after they brought the black women in from the continent. We were sired here. We were developed here. We were grown and managed like cattle. That is the fact, okay? We were not grown and developed on the continent of Africa. Now, do some of our mores and our customs come from there? Sure. Are they still there? Yes, they are. But we are fully part of this country. We always have been. And we were socially integrated into this country, and we volunteered to go into it. In fact, we demanded it in 1945. They didn't pull us by our ears and pull us by our hair and drug us into integration or assimilation. We demanded it. And anytime we have any kind of agreement, and what this is an agreement, anything that social people do, two groups of people do, is an agreement. That's why I played the Monahan report. Now, I actually did the Monahan report not to prove to black people what happened, but to white people that happened, because white people think that assimilation and integration was black people's idea. No, it wasn't. It was a way to solve a social problem for white people. And black people went along with it and demanded it because they were tired of getting hung. They're tired of getting disappeared. They were tired of their businesses being burned down. They were tired of being cheated out of their homes. They're tired of subpar homes. They're tired of getting taken advantage of. They're tired of not being protected like a full citizen should be. They're tired of having all the obligations of citizenship and none of the rights and privileges. They wanted rights and privileges. They wanted to be able to work if they wanted to, not that they had to, and earn money next to white men doing the same doggone thing because they're citizens just like everybody else. And it took the death of Martin Luther King to achieve that. Martin Luther King got killed after he said, "We coming to get our check." You drew up the plan of assimilation because you needed to solve a problem, because you wanted a homogenous society. And you brought black people and white people in to actually forge this alliance so that it could get done. Okay, now that it's done and now that it's carried forward, we're coming to get our check. Now you're going to give us the financial half that goes along with the social half. It's no good being a citizen of the United States and having to sleep on the streets without a home. We need the financial part of it. Now, was the compromise perfect? No. Did they backslide on their promises? Yes, they did. And it's up to black folks to demand that we cash that check. Okay, we have a check that's written to us. We have to go cash the doggone thing. That is what we're supposed to do. But the thing is, we did make the compromise where we opened ourselves up socially. It is what it is. That's part of the deal. There is no deal that's one-sided, okay? There's going to be positives and negatives. The negatives is that you open yourself up socially to people that have formerly oppressed you. And when you do that, you're going to get stuff that you don't like some black men marrying out. Still a small percentage. If you actually run the numbers and look at it, 15% is generous. It's not 30%. It's not 40%. 15% is generous. Now, if you don't want your black boys to marry other people or other ethnicities or date other ethnicities, you want them to stay within the confines of the fence, you're going to have to erect the fence yourself. There's nothing stopping you from making an all-black society and enforcing it socially. Ain't nothing stopping you from doing it. But the thing is that you can't bring home the goodies. How can a Jewish man, an Arab man, an Indian man, a Chinese man or group keep his men, his boys, inside the confines of his society because it's in his best interest. Well, anyway, the phone is tripping, so it ruins the flow. But like I was saying, that other cultures have incentives for their men to stay inside the culture. They work together, there's businesses, they have things for young men to actually flow into. If you look at the Islamic culture, say even the Nation of Islam, because there are incentives to marrying inside the culture of the Nation of Islam because there's a support system for the young men as far as businesses, as far as education, as far as support of the men, and support as far as support of the women. There is a support culture. There is a standard of behavior for the women inside the culture. In Islam, the men don't have to fix the women. The men don't have to keep the women straight. The women keep the women straight. The men qualify the men for marriage. They don't go by a woman's standard. Men know right up front the qualities that they need to have for a particular woman or have a woman, period, inside the Nation of Islam or Islam, period. And they have been trained from a very small person. Or even if they're not trained as a very small person, they have other male guides to actually guide them on conduct of behavior so they can fit inside the ecosystem of that particular system. Okay, the black community or the gynocracy doesn't have that. All the gynocracy says is what is best for the woman, not as what is best for the man. It never says that. The women don't say what's best for the man. The women don't hold themselves accountable. And inside the system, the men don't hold the women accountable. There's nothing that holds the women to account for their behavior. There's nothing that holds the women account for misbehaving. The gynocracy want women to have a guarantee of support, resources, protection, all that kind of stuff. That's what they want. But men don't have any kind of guarantee or even hope to have any kind of some semblance of getting something other than sex. And even that's not guaranteed because if she doesn't want to have sex with you, she doesn't have to. And half of them don't. So if a black woman goes out and cheats on her mate, there is no shaming or repercussion for a black woman going out and cheating on her mate. There is no repercussion for other men going out and sleeping with married women. It's acceptable. And the man that is unlucky enough to marry that woman has just threw his money and his time and his resources down a black hole. And everybody knows that. Everybody knows that it's dysfunctional. And all black men are asking, especially SySBM, how are you going to address this dysfunction before I throw my time and resources back into it? And everybody thinks time and resources is money and businesses and stuff like that. No, it's not. Your time, your life force is a resource. That's bullshit. That you have to have money and you have to have a job and you have to have protection. You have to have a house, all this kind of stuff for a woman. It's bullshit. Your life force is a resource. Your time is a resource. That's something you can't get back. You can buy 100 houses. You can't buy 100 lifetimes. The life force and the time that you put into your children is valuable. We don't give it away for nothing. We don't give it away just because you want to throw it away on a lost cause, just on a spiritual or a moral cause that you can't convince the men that you want to come back to be in. Doesn't make sense. And you don't like that we're proposing something different. Who are you to say that? You don't like it. You don't have to like it. You don't like it that we're proposing something that's opposite of what you want. Why do you want it? Number one, you never stated why you really want it. You never stated why it was really important. You haven't come up with an ideology that's compelling. And you know that you can't come up with a compelling ideology. That's like you're trying to shame black men. You're trying to silence the voices because your argument is weak. You have a weak argument. You have a weak platform, which is why you can't draw people to it. You're trying to bank on people's emotions instead of their logic and practicality, especially to men. Men are logical at the end of the day. No matter how much emotion you try to pump into them, no matter how you try to pump them up, at the end of the day, they are logical and they can see the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. You want black men to fight, but you're not giving them something to fight for. Shaming them is not them fighting for something. Shaming them is basically playing on their old programming, and that only lasts for so long. So you could get them back on the farm and you could get them back to dealing with black women. And as soon as something goes wrong, they're out again. Some people stay married because they believe in giving their children a chance in spite of a bad marriage. Uru said that. He didn't stay married because he wanted to stay married or he had a happy marriage or that black woman was good to him. He stayed married because he thought in his mind that he owed his children the best chance possible to be normal. And that's a noble cause, but it's a noble cause because he picked that hill to die on. He picked that hill to die on. Nobody else. Nobody had to shame him to do it. He made that choice independently. I've died on my own hill. And I can tell you sometimes I wish I didn't. I wish I had made another choice. And I'm going to be straight up honest. And this is coming from a Pan-African, pro-black conscious community dude. Okay? Because sometimes I wish I didn't make that choice because a lot of times I think I've thrown my time and my energy into a black hole for nothing. But the thing is, I made the choice and I did what I did. And the thing is, there's no taking it back. So whether it came out right or wrong or good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's my choice and I made it. And hopefully that the choice will do some good to somebody. But I'm getting tired of people trying to shame men, black men, into making bad choices because you know it's a bad choice. Like they said in Margin Call, you come and you tell them the truth because they're going to know it's the end either way. They're going to know the truth either way. There's too much information out there. Social media has opened it up with all kind of voices and everybody knows the doggone truth. And you trying to hide it and push it under the rug is not going to do any good. The track record proves that it is a failing, dysfunctional community and has been for a long time. All Jim Crow did was mask it because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We had a united front. And anybody knows anything about people, as soon as that united front leaves, guess what's going to happen? That coalition will fall apart. Saw that happen. Assimilation or grand integration didn't cause it. It just gave it an opportunity for this union to fall apart. You go back in history, that's what you find out. It was dysfunctional from the beginning. And all the Jim Crow did was hold it together, force it back together in spite of what you wanted. And when it left and people had other options, had better avenues, guess what? They took them. That's what human beings do. You can't socialize that out of a human being. Human beings, all organisms, I'm not human beings, all organisms know a positive situation from a negative one. And they will always tend to go away from the negative one unless they're trained. Your women been doing it for the last 60 years. They take the best deal that they can. They take the best deal that they can. They have no right to tell black men that they can't take the best deal that they can. You did it, and then you excuse it on black man's failure. Fine. If black men failed and you had to make another choice because you had to take the best deal that you could, fine. Accept it. Black men accept it. You failed, okay? You failed. She walked. She had every right to walk. She had every right to leave. She had every right to divorce you and kick your ass to the curb. Fine. It happened. She did it. Now you have the exact same right. If a black woman is not what you want, is not desirable or not conducive to your psychology, your well-being, your happiness, kick her to the curb. You have every right to take the best deal that you can, just like she did, whether it's reluctantly or not. Stop trying to shame black men into staying into a dysfunctional situation with dysfunctional women. If black men want to stay with dysfunctional black women, they have every right to do so. If they want to leave, they have every right to do so. Stop telling us what we can and cannot say. This is the fucking free country. Black women have been slandering our name for the last 60 years, and nobody said a peep. They said, you right. Black men ain't shit. They abandoned their families. Okay, whether we did or we didn't, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, black men have the right to make their own decision. Just like black women can criticize black men's shortcoming, rightfully so. Ain't nobody ever said that they couldn't. Ain't nobody said, why are you disparaging black men? Ain't nobody said that they could or they couldn't. They took it. Now, black women, it's time for you to take it. You're trying to say, don't disparage black women. You're proud of your behavior. You're proud of your dysfunction because you support it, you put money behind it, you display it, you even film it. But we can't say it. Bullshit. It is what it is. But I'm going to try to jump off of this one before the app cuts out because it has a tendency to cut out. And I'm going to put this up. I've been trying to put this up for 2 days. So I'm going to edit the second half. I'm going to put it up for you guys to hear it because I know you guys like rants. And I just had a feeling of rants. There's probably more coming, man, because to not have to worry about YouTube, I'm ready to unload. So I might have to start putting some warnings, some trigger warnings for my female subs. You don't want to be triggered, don't listen to this. But with that, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.